Hey quilters. Okay, so what I want to show you right now is something that I do and something that you can do to prep your quilt to bring into doodle for long arm quilting. If you have a quilt top that has seams that come to the edge, okay, so this is just like a log cabin quilt, and so I have seams that come all the way out to the edge here, okay? So what we're gonna do, it's called stay stitching. So we're just going to set it. So I'm using my Bernina, it's my 97D, which is my 1/4 inch dual feed foot. And I'm gonna leave it at my 2.5 stitch length, okay? And that's what I'm gonna use to sew. So I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch. So on my foot, I'm gonna line it up right at the edge with the edge of my fabric. And I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch all the way around with my regular stitch length, okay? So it doesn't really matter where you start. I'm just gonna sew all the way around. And I have freshly ironed this. You might have to iron a little bit more after you've manhandled it, depending on the size of your quilt. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this around. Okay, so I've stitched just about half of this, but I want you to kind of see this corner if I can, maybe if I can get it close enough. So I come up to the corner and I have stopped, and actually earlier I said a 1/4 inch. I'm actually stitching about 1/8 of an inch. So on my foot, and I'll do a closer up shot here in a minute, but I'm actually stitching on the inside corner. So when I get to the corner, I stop, and my machine has what's called hover. So it picks the foot up, but the needle's down. And I'm just gonna spin this. And then sometimes what I'll do on this corner is I'll start slow, and because there's not much fabric here, I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of tension on the fabric, and then I'm gonna let it feed through, okay? And then I'm just gonna keep going. So sometimes what I have to do is I'll have to stop and kind of straighten this out. So I've got it all kind of bunched up here. So we're gonna straighten that out. I do keep my stiletto close by because I have seams here, and you can see this one, well, trust me on this one. This seam is coming out a little bit. So I use the stiletto just to kind of hold it in place so that I can secure it without it like flipping or turning on me, okay? Now the other thing you could do, I'm just gonna cut my thread here so I can show this to you closer up. If you have a quilt that, like, let's say you just have borders on it, so you only have a couple places there are seams. So like if I only had a couple places where there were like seams like this, I could just stay stitch from like here to here, right? I wouldn't necessarily have to go, like if I just had a long border, wouldn't necessarily have to go and stitch that whole long edge that's just fabric. Now, if your fabric frays a lot, like if it's starting to come apart, then go ahead and stay stitch. It's not gonna hurt anything, okay? But if you have just a border or something, then you can just stay stitch that section, okay? All right, so I'm gonna put this back in and I'm gonna finish sewing all the way around, and then I'll show you kind of what it looks like close up. Okay, so I have this a lot closer up now, just because I want you guys to be able to see exactly what I'm doing here, okay? So you can see on my foot, and again, I'm using just the inside edge here. We're just gonna hold tension on the corner and let it grab, and then we can keep going. Okay, this is a little bit better. So now you can see a little bit closer up what I'm doing here. So these are the edges. I really want to make sure they hold. And I'm just kind of lining it up. It's about 1/8 of an inch, the inside edge of my foot. And so this is why I have the stiletto. So we're gonna pause, tuck that back under, and keep stitching. And this is where I maybe could skip this. Like I could stop here and I could just jump here, but I feel like it's not too far, and my fabric's starting to fray here, so I might as well stitch it. And you can see coming up here, see this right here, this is beginning to open. Okay, so that's really what the whole point of doing this is to secure those spots so that things don't open when I go to put this on the long arm, or even just handling it, right? The more I handle this, if I'm ironing it or even just folding it up to bring it down to the studio, right? Sometimes that's just enough to kind of open up those seams. And some of you bring us, you know, multiple quilts at a time. So if you are, you know, if it's kind of just sitting somewhere hanging out, or, you know, you're showing it off to people and you're handling it, that can sometimes open up some of these seams at the edges too. And then I'm gonna try and stop. There we go. And just be careful when you do this part, because my needle is down, but like, you know, I could still pull on the fabric, and you don't want to stretch it or distort it or pull a hole in it. I'm just gonna reposition this, and we are just about around. So this is definitely one thing you can do. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it really does make your long armor very happy, because then we know that nothing's gonna come apart, because we do kind of stress about that. So we're gonna cut that, and then I'm gonna flip this back around and I'm gonna show you kind of what this looks like. Okay, so I've gone all the way around this, okay? And so I just wanna show you kind of what it looks like here. And at my seam, let's see, there we go. Yeah, perfect. So you can see that. Okay, so that's just securing all those edges. Okay, so I have this nice quilt that I can show off now and not worry about those seams coming apart. Okay, and like, even see my fabric's starting to fray a little bit too. So now I don't have to worry that that's gonna like fray off and I'm gonna lose, you know, lose measurement here because my fabric's fraying apart. Okay, so stay stitching. Such a great thing you can do to prep your quilts, especially if they have piecing at the edge, especially if they have bias at the edge. Okay, so like if you have a quilt that has, you know, setting triangles right at the edges, definitely stay stitch that. That's gonna help keep it from distorting. Again, handling it, loading it on the long arm, all that good stuff. Okay.